Now let's start with our next topic, which is the applicability of the Companies Act and the definitions, okay, the basic concepts. So where do you think the Companies Act applies? Does it apply to Nepal also, Sri Lanka also? No, right? So Companies Act, according to section 1 of the Companies Act, it extends to the whole of India. Definitely Jammu and Kashmir is a part of India, so it applies to Jammu and Kashmir also. And it will apply to which all companies? It will apply to companies which is incorporated under this act or under any previous company law. So if you are incorporated under Companies Act 1956 or acts before that, then also now you have to follow Companies Act 2013. So all the companies under this act, insurance companies, banking companies, EB companies, all right. So all the banking, insurance, electricity companies, plus any other company which is governed by special act companies, okay. So special act companies is, for example, LIC, SBI Bank, they are all special act companies because they have a separate act also for them. So SBI Bank has a separate act for itself also. Or any other company which the central government will tell, it will be applicable to those company also. It is never ever applicable to unincorporated companies which has not been incorporated, but if you are just calling it a company doesn't mean that Companies Act will be applicable to it, alright. Another very interesting thing is, you would have studied before that partnership is minimum 2 people, and maximum how much is allowed in a partnership? Maximum only 50 people is allowed. So if you are running a partnership firm with up to 50%, it's okay. But if you have more than 50%, the maximum of number of persons which may be prescribed shall not exceed 100. Right now it is 50. So if you have more than 50 people as a partnership firm, it is not legal. So you need to basically incorporate it into a company, alright. So this is mentioned in the Companies Act, that a partnership firm or an association with more than 50 persons cannot be in any other form except a company form, alright. And you cannot exceed this number to more than 100 later on also when you want to keep changing this number, okay. Right now it is 50. If you carry on any business as a partnership firm or as any other association with more than 50 people, then what fine will you get? The fine that you get will be 1 lakh rupees, plus you will be liable for the liabilities. You will be personally liable for the liabilities. So if 55 people are running a partnership firm, then they all have to pay a penalty of up to 1 lakh rupees, and they will also be personally liable. If any liability that firm is incurring, they will be personally liable for that, alright. So this is your basic concept of applicability of Companies Act. Now let us go through the various definitions. There are 2 types of company limited by shares and limited by guarantee. Limited by share basically means what will be the liability of the members? The liability of the members will be whatever is mentioned in the memorandum. It will be basically limited by the memorandum, and whatever amount is unpaid on the share. So generally you will have share, when you are buying shares of a company, when you are subscribing to shares of a company, you will have application, allotment, first call, second call, right. So you have paid application, you have paid allotment, you have paid first call. So of a 10 rupees face value of shares, say you have paid 7 rupees already. So now what will be your liability? Your liability will be this balance 3 rupees only. So this will be your liability for company limited by shares. Now what will be your liability for company limited by guarantee? In this, what happens, that in the memorandum of association, all the members undertake that what will be the amount of my liability. Under in the side of every member's name, the amount will be mentioned up to which they are guaranteeing it, okay. So the memorandum to such amount as the members may respectively undertake to contribute to the assets of the company in the event of being wound up. So what happens in this case is, company limited by guarantee, in the memorandum, say all the 5 members' name is put, and beside their names 2 lakh, 5 lakh, 3 lakh, like that, the guarantees will be mentioned. So now what happens is, when the company is getting wound up, that time you will see what is the asset of the company and what is the liabilities of the company. If asset is more than the liabilities, you can pay off the liabilities, and that's all about it. But if the liabilities is say 5 lakh rupees and asset is only 1 lakh, so you will use that asset first, then also 4 lakh liabilities is pending. Then you will go to the members who had taken the guarantee. You will check the memorandum, how many members had taken the guarantee. Now those members will have to contribute towards the assets. The members will contribute maximum up to how much guarantee they have taken. If that maximum limit is not invoked, then they will pay in partial amounts. For example, I had taken a guarantee of 1 lakh, one more person had taken a guarantee of 2 lakh example, and the total assets, the total liability of the company which we will have to contribute to is, say for example, 1 lakh rupees. Then in that case what happens? Both of us will pay a part amount of in proportion to how much we have to contribute. I had taken a guarantee of 1 lakh, other person had taken a guarantee of 2 lakhs. So the 1 lakh liability which we have to pay will be distributed between both of us in 1:2 ratio. So like that we will have to contribute to the liability which is there. Okay. So company limited by guarantee is something very simple. The members will already, name will be there in MOA, how much amount they are ready to contribute towards the asset, how much amount they are ready to take the guarantee for, and when the company is being wound up, if the liabilities is more than the assets, then these members will be called to contribute towards the liabilities, and that contribution cannot exceed the amount up to which guarantee they have taken. Okay, that is all about your company limited by guarantee. Now next very important definitions which we will be studying is your public company and subsidiary company. What is public company? Section 2 clause 71. The definition of public company is very simple. It is not a private company. Alright, so public company is not a private company and it will have a minimum paid up share capital as may be prescribed. Can you write the same thing for a private company, a company which is not a public company? No, you cannot write that. We will read about the definition later. So public company is something which is not a private company and minimum PSC as may be prescribed. Till now there is no paid up share capital which has been prescribed. Then very important to remember is, if any company is a subsidiary of a company which is not being a private company, it will be deemed to be a public company for the purpose of this act, even where such subsidiary company continues to be private in its article. So basically there is a company called A Limited, okay, and then it has a subsidiary. What is a subsidiary? We'll understand it right now. It has a subsidiary called S Private Limited. Technically this is a private company, but since it is a subsidiary of a public company, it will also be deemed to be a public company. Okay, so since you are subsidiary of a public company, you will be deemed to be a public company. Alright, even if you are a private company. So that's about your definition of public company. Now let's see the definition of a private company. Private company definition is section 2 clause 68. Now let's understand what is a private company. Private company, again the same thing, minimum paid up share capital as may be prescribed, but right now nothing has been prescribed. Next comes your company which by its articles restricts the right to transfer shares, except in case of OPC, limits the number to 200, provided 2 or more persons who are holding the shares jointly will be calculated as 1. Who are in employment will not be calculated, who are in formal employment also will not be calculated. Third is, prohibits the invitation to the public to subscribe for securities of the company. So basically, let us see what is a private company. For a private company, first thing is minimum paid up share capital as may be prescribed, right? Nothing has been prescribed, I have already told you. The other two words which you have to notice is restricts and prohibits. What is the difference between restricts and prohibits? Restricts is that for certain situations it is not allowed, but in some cases we can allow it, right? So for example, you are restricted from coming late to my class, but in certain situations I may allow you. So that is a restriction. Prohibition is like a complete ban, okay? For example, you cannot smoke in my class. There is no reason, there is no, there is no situation in which it can be allowed. So it is basically prohibited. So for what is there is restriction in private company? The restriction is to transfer the shares, okay? So you cannot, in public companies the shares are freely transferable, okay? But in a private company, if you want to transfer the shares to someone, there are certain restrictions. So mostly the restrictions are like how, if you want to transfer the shares, you have to first offer it to the existing members of the company at a certain price which is mentioned in the memorandum or decided by the board of directors. If the existing members in the company are not able to take up the shares, then only you can sell it outside. So that is why there is a restriction on transfer of shares. What is prohibit? Prohibit is you cannot invite the public to subscribe to your shares, because that is the main difference between private and public companies. If private companies also start inviting the public to subscribe to its securities, then what will be the difference between private and public companies, right? So public companies can invite the public that come buy my shares. Private companies cannot do so. Private company will generally offer its shares only to its known circle of people, family, friends, relatives and so on, right? It cannot invite public. Next thing is on the minimum number of members. A private company will have a minimum of 2 members, okay, minimum 2, except OPC, because OPC, one person company, will have only minimum 1 or maximum 1, only 1 member will be allowed for a OPC company, alright. So for private company, minimum is 2, maximum how many members can a private company have? 200. But this 200 numbers does not include certain people. What is that? Employee. So if you are an employee of a company and you are holding shares, you will not be included in the number of 200. Or if you are ex-employee. So if you are an ex-employee, that is that when you were an employee, you were holding the shares and now you have resigned from the company and gone, but you continue to be a shareholder. Even that numbers is not calculated for 200. So if you are an ex-employee but you are still holding shares, you will not be calculated for the number of 200. Next is, if there are 2 people who are holding the shares in joint, okay, then they will be calculated as only 1 shareholder, because technically they are only 1 shareholder. So if me and my husband hold 100 shares of a company on a joint basis, now we both will be calculated as only 1 shareholder. We will not be calculated as 2 shareholders, okay. So this ex-employee, present employee is not included for the number 200, and joint shareholders will only calculate as 1. According to this, now we have to make sure that the maximum should not exceed 200 for a private company. That's all about the definition of a private company. Now coming to definition of control. What is control? It's an important definition. Control is basically the right to appoint majority of the directors or to control the management or policy decisions, including by virtue of either alone or person acting in concert, or by virtue of the shareholding or management rights, etc. So when we say that A Limited controls B Limited, what do we mean by it? It basically means when we say that A Limited is exercising control on B Limited, what we mean is that B Limited has a board of directors, right? B Limited might have 8 directors. In this 8 directors, majority of the directors is actually appointed by A Limited. So if you notice, what is the language? Right to appoint majority of the directors. So A Limited only is appointing this 5 directors. 5 directors is majority because total number of directors is 8. So when A Limited is appointing 5 directors on B Limited, it is told that A Limited exercises control on B Limited, alright. Next option can be that A Limited is mostly influencing all the policy decisions of B Limited. In that case also we will say that A Limited is controlling B Limited. Either A Limited on its own or through people who are acting along with A Limited, they are exercising control over B Limited by influencing the policies or controlling the management. Then this will be known as control, okay. So this is what is the definition of control. Now coming up to the next definition, which is your small company. Small company, listed company, government, foreign company, these are the important definitions we will be doing. Let's first go back to subsidiary company. Subsidiary company is actually a very important definition, okay. Subsidiary company, government company, private company, and even this small company, okay. Now first let us see what is a subsidiary company. It basically is a company in which the holding company controls the composition of the board of director or exercises or controls more than one half of the total voting power on its own or together with one or more of its subsidiary companies. It should not have layers beyond the numbers as may be prescribed. What is the layers which has been prescribed? It should not have more than 2 layers. But these companies are exempt from the restriction on number of layers: banking, NBFC, insurance and government company. Alright. Now let us try to understand this subsidiary company definition. So what happens in subsidiary company is, there is a company called A Limited, then there is a company called S Limited. Okay. So what is the first point which they are saying? That the holding company controls the composition of the board of directors. Okay. It controls the composition of the board of directors. What do I mean by this? The same thing what I told you over here. S Limited has a board of directors and there are 8 directors on the board, and A Limited is the one who appoints 5 of these directors. So A Limited is appointing 5 directors of S Limited. So A Limited is controlling the composition of board of directors of S Limited. Hence, A Limited will be holding company and S Limited will be subsidiary of it. Alright. Second is, it exercises more than one half of the total voting power. So what happens is that S Limited is having, say, 1000 equity shares. Okay, equity shares have voting rights, right? And A Limited is holding 550 equity shares on this. So in this 1000 equity shares which S Limited has, 550 equity shares is held by A Limited. So basically A Limited is having more than one half of the total voting power, right? A Limited is basically having more than one half of the total voting power either on its own or through one or more of its subsidiary. So in this case, what happens if A Limited is having 550 equity shares in S Limited is subsidiary, A Limited will become holding. Another example can be that there is one more company called B Limited. In B Limited, A Limited is having 30% of the total voting power and S Limited is having 25% of the total voting power. So what is happening in B Limited? A Limited plus S Limited is combined having more than one half of the total voting power. So in this case also B Limited is subsidiary and A Limited is holding. Alright. So either on your own you hold more than one half of the total voting power, or along with other subsidiaries you hold, then also you will be called as holding subsidiary. Next is, you should not have more than 2 layers of subsidiary. What do you mean by layer? A Limited is having, say, a subsidiary B Limited, C Limited, D Limited, P Limited, any number of subsidiaries it can have. It can have any number of companies in which it is holding more than one half of the total voting power. Okay, like Reliance has 350 subsidiaries. Okay, so over here what is happening is A Limited is holding more than one half total voting power in all these 4 companies. So basically this will be known as the first layer. Okay. Now next what happens is, if B Limited holds shares in X Limited, C Limited is holding in Y Limited, B Limited is also holding in Z Limited. So they are all the second layer of subsidiaries of A Limited. Okay, because indirectly they are subsidiaries of A Limited only. So this will be known as the second layer. Only up to 2 layers will be allowed. Can Z Limited also have a subsidiary now? No, it will not be allowed because it will become the third layer then. Okay, so this is what they are trying to say about 2 layers of subsidiaries. But this exemption is given to bank, insurance, banking company, insurance company, NBFC company and government company. These companies can have any number of layers of subsidiaries. Okay. Always remember in your Companies Act, a lot of question is actually asked from exception. So more than the definition or more than the what the section is saying, the exceptions is always important. All right. Now let's move on to the next definition, which is small company. Small company is also a very important definition. Section 2, clause 85. What is a small company? Small company is other than a public company. So what do we mean by that? Public company can never be called a small company. That is what we mean by a small company. Public company will never ever be called a small company. So a company which is not a public company but whose paid up share capital is not exceeding 4 crore. So if your paid up share capital is up to 4 crore, and always remember this and or is very important. So both and means both conditions you have to fulfill to be called a small company. Your paid up share capital should be less than 4 crore and your turnover should be less than 40 crore. Okay. So if you are not a public company, your paid up share capital is less than 4 crore, your turnover is less than 40 crore, you can get the status of a small company. Now ma'am, why should I get the status of a small company? Because if you can be called a small company, then in the entire Companies Act, you will get a lot of benefits. Benefits means you will get a lot of exemptions actually. So that is why companies take the status of small company. Alright. Now what is it mentioned in this section? That small company other than a public company paid up share capital does not exceed 4 crore or higher amount as may be prescribed, which shall not be more than 10 crore. Basically, without amending the act, to amend the act also it is the same process. Okay, it's a very big process of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and so on, President sign and so on. So over here they have given one more limit in the act itself, that right now the limit is 4 crore for the paid up share capital. Later if you want to increase the limit, you can keep increasing the limit but up to only 10 crore. If you want to increase the limit from 10 crore, you should again amend the act. Alright, same thing for turnover. Right now the limit is 40 crore, but up to 100 crore you can keep changing it just by a notification. Okay. So tomorrow if MCA gives a notification that the new limits for turnover for a small company will be 70 crore, it will be valid. Within one notification you can change it. But if you want to exceed from 100 crore, you need to amend the act. And this small company, there will be exception. If you have a holding subsidiary relationship, you cannot be called a small company. So if you are a public company or if you have holding subsidiary relationship, you can never be called a small company. If you are a company registered under section 8, which is basically not for profit company, or if you are a company under any special act. What is the special act company? As I already told you, LIC, SBI, etc. are all special act companies. These people cannot get the status of a small company. So these are the important exceptions. Now what is a listed company? Listed company is basically any securities which is listed on any recognized stock exchange will be known as a listed company. So public company which have listed their equity shares, or even if your shares are not listed on stock exchange, you can be called as a listed company. How? I have not listed my shares, but what would I have listed? Maybe I would have listed my other securities. So let us understand this. Public company which have not listed their equity on a recognized stock exchange but have listed there will not be considered as a listed company. I would have listed my debt securities, debentures, private placement. I would have listed my redeemable preference shares which cannot be converted to equity. I would have listed all these things, then I am not called a listed company. But if I have listed my redeemable preference shares which can be converted to equity, I have listed my preference shares which can be converted to equity, I have listed my debentures which can be converted to equity, then I will be called a listed company. Otherwise, if they cannot be converted, if it's only debentures, preference shares which I have listed which can never be converted to equity, I will not get the status of a listed company. Now coming up to the other two important definitions, which is your government company and foreign company. They both are also very important definition. What is a government company? a company in which not less than 51%, please remember the limit, 51% is of the PSC is held by CG or SG or combination of CG, SG, and it includes subsidiary of government company also. So basically, there is this company called say A Limited. A Limited, central government is holding say 10%. Here it is not total voting power. Here that is paid up share capital. Central government is holding 10% of the paid up share capital. Tamil Nadu government, which is basically the state government, is holding 30% of the paid up share capital. Will this be called a government company? No, because government is holding only 40%. Then Kerala government, state government comes and holds another 10%. Will this be called a government company? No, because 30 plus 10 plus 10, only 50%. Then central government increases its holding by 5%. Now what happens? CG and SG in combination is holding 55% of the paid up share capital. Now A Limited will be called as a government company. And if A Limited had a subsidiary, since you are the subsidiary of government company, you will also be called as a government company. Alright. This is what is about government company. It should not be less than 51. So exact at 51, you will become government company. If it is 50.8, you are not government company. If it's 51, you are government company. Foreign company, any company or body corporate which is incorporated outside India has a place of business in India, either on its own, by agent, physical, electronic, whatever, and it conducts any kind of business activity in India in any manner. It will be called as a foreign company. Say for example, there is this company called Shia Limited. Okay, Shein Limited. Now Shein Limited is incorporated in China. So it is incorporated outside India? Yes. Does it have an office in India? No. Does it have an agent in India? No. But it is doing business in India via electronic mode. Via electronic mode it does business, means on a online way it is doing business. So if you have an agent in India, or you have a physical office in India, or you are doing it yourself, or whether you are doing in electronic mode, whatsoever you are doing, and you are conducting business in India, you are running the business in India, then Shein Limited will be called a foreign company. Alright. But supposing Shein Limited does not do any business in India. Sorry, it does not do any business in India. Okay. Shein Limited was incorporated in China and it does business only in China and Germany. Will Shein Limited be called foreign company for us? No. We are not bothered about it. It does not do business in India. It does not have office in India. It is not incorporated in India. For us, they are not even a foreign company. We don't even call them a foreign company. So remember this. Alright. You should have a place of business in India or run it by yourself or agent, physically or electronic, and you should conduct any business activity in India. Then you will be called as a foreign company. Alright. Now, we'll go through the role and responsibility of these people under the Companies Act. KMP and officer definition is very, very important. KMP definition is very important. Even the promoter definition is very important. Then what about e-governance, the advantages, services available on MCA 21 and so on. We'll be covering up all these portions in the next session. Thank you.